All right, welcome back to part deux. That is two for French, in case you didn't
Dude,
know. Part deux of the Dave Ramsey baby seven baby steps, baby seven, the
seven
seven,
babies?
the seven baby steps to financial freedom, according to Dave Ramsey. Where Bryce is going through them. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. Um, in the previous episode, part one, I kind of gave my first just assumptions around it of what I thought it was, and so far I was pretty close on some points, but
Yeah, you got
we're
some pretty
going
solid
through
shots on it.
we're going through the last three steps, 5, 6, and 7. So, Bryce, whenever you're ready.
Cinco, seis, siete. All right. This is Dave Ramsey Talk Show here with Jason and Bryce. Just kidding. Dave is not here with us, but thank you, Dave, for writing these. I know you've helped a lot of people, and we're going to talk about what it applies to maybe another school of thought as well. A little bit of commentary. So
Yeah.
I'm going to screen share right here, and we're going to go on to the next steps. Number 5, baby step number 5. I'm going to read it to you, and then we'll talk about it. I'll intro it to Jason, and then we'll talk about Jason's thoughts. So baby step number 5, save for your baby's college fund. By this step, you've paid off all debts except the house and started saving for retirement. Next, it's time to save for your children's college expenses. That is, if they make it through algebra 2 and chemistry unscathed. Those are pretty rough things. Chemistry did not do good things for me. How about you?
I did fine.
Yeah, I knew you would. That's why we do stuff together.
I didn't like it, but I did okay.
Wonderful. Yeah, my senior year, I talked to one of my friends. I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, I'm like, "Hey, are you doing trigonometry?" He's like, "No, I'm doing this class because they go to Disneyland at the end of the year." And I'm like, "Huh. Well, don't you have to do trigonometry?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "All right, I'll do that class with you."
That's
So
funny.
that's what happened.
I haven't. I didn't. I never took trigonometry or calculus in high school or college.
Nice.
And quick little side note: in California, they have this thing called the SAT. It's a standardized test that all students have to take in high
Did you
school and
say
elementary school.
SATs? SAT?
Wait, no. Okay, SATs. Sorry. Whoa. I've been out of high school for years now. Like, SATs are the tests that you take to apply to get into college. It's like the
Yeah,
ACT.
like the
Okay.
ACT for the West Coast. Wait. Is SAT for California schools?
That's what I took.
Whoa,
Yeah.
nice,
Utah does ACTs. I never took that. I took the
interesting.
SAT once,
But you
and
still got admitted to BYU with your SAT score.
I transferred from a junior college, so I had transferring
Oh,
credits.
nice. So they didn't necessarily have to look at your entrance exam.
Anyway, but just wanted to share a quick anecdote about star testing. That's what California does. They do star
Star.
testing. So they do standardized testing at the end of every school year for every grade, except for your senior year in high school, because you don't have to do it because it's basically for schools to rate their students' performance in order for them to get money, in order for the schools to get money based on their kids' performance on the STAR test. So I was in my most in my it was pretty typical for incoming juniors at my high school to take chemistry.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not taking chemistry my junior year because that means I have
Nope.
to take the STAR test for chemistry at the end of the year. So I was like, I'll take it my senior year. So I took it my senior year and didn't have to take the STAR test.
Genius. Whoa. Did other
So
people do that with you, or is it just
no,
you
I
that
was like,
figured it out?
I was like one of maybe two seniors that took chemistry. I
You're
was like,
showing up. You're like, hey, we looked. We used our brains. We didn't have to do that.
yeah.
Crazy.
Anyway,
That is interesting. There's always a way through doing a little bit of research. I did that in college. I was like, hey, if I do
oh, I mean,
this, then I can do that.
I was in a chemistry class full of juniors. I was like the only senior in there. Maybe there was another one, maybe one or two. but I mean, which is fine. They're nice. They're cool kids. So
Stars. We ours was called Ames, AIMS. I don't know what it stands for, but the first one is Arizona.
I don't know what star testing stands for, but anyway,
Yeah.
we got off topic really fast though.
All right,
Uh,
fine. Jason always bringing us back to what's important.
Step number 5. I can't even remember what it was. Can you share your screen again?
Easy. Yeah, it's about chemistry.
Oh, that's right. Saving for your children's college
Saving
fund.
for them to fail in some arbitrary class that may or may not be worth something,
So
but
this
may.
one, I think is, sorry to cut you off, but I think it's kind of interesting because, how do you, like, we have young kids.
Sure.
Mine are under 2, and I don't know if they want to go to college. Maybe one of them wants to go military. Maybe one of them wants to be an entrepreneur and start their own business. Maybe maybe they want to go to self-employed. I
Mm-hmm.
think like college is good. I think college is also not so good in some situations. If you know that you want to be a lawyer and you want to be a doctor, then college is the path that it's just, there's no other way to become a surgeon, a brain surgeon. You just have to do that. You have to go through the medical school, the college training in order to do that. The same thing with becoming a lawyer. Like
Yeah.
I can't just go out tomorrow, or I mean, maybe I could pull a Catch Me If You Can uh, episode and study
Leonardo
for the bar
DiCaprio.
for the 2 weeks and take the bar and pass it. Do you know that part?
Yeah.
Catch Me
You
If
mean
You Can.
taking the bar?
Yeah, taking the bar. He had no experience, so like I guess that you can do that, but with no formal education around that. So I guess it can be done. The thing is, like, I think that's also like this thing about giving your kids a handout. Like, what if you save enough for them to go to college
That's a good point.
without them having to pay tuition? Like, I didn't. For me in my college experience, I paid my own way through.
Right.
And I think that's a valuable lesson for me to learn. Like
Mm-hmm.
my parents helped me get through college. They didn't pay for my books or my classes or anything like that. They supported me when I first started going to junior college. I was living at home, kind of with them. They had a home in the Bay Area where they were there during the week, so I essentially had a house to myself. And my mom would help out with some meals and stuff like that. She'd give me like Subway gift cards for me to have lunch and stuff.
And
Um,
Jason is baby child, just for those listeners.
yeah, I'm the youngest.
He's baby child. I I never got that quite privilege that he received.
Yeah,
Not knocking, just appreciating.
yeah. And so there's ways like am I depriving my children opportunities to learn to pay for college themselves, or by
Wait.
paying for
We should
them,
we
or
should pause right
I don't
here.
know.
Why didn't your parents pay for college?
Why didn't they?
Yeah, because you were the baby child, and like, I mean, your parents currently are retired, so potentially they could have, right?
They, like I said, they is this part of the pause?
What, you
You're
want me to
still
pause? Do we need a huddle?
we can just keep going.
No,
But
yeah.
so like I said, they helped in other ways. Like I don't know why they didn't pay for like tuition or books or anything.
Well,
That stuff I
maybe that was
felt,
the reason, the
yeah.
because of what you're saying right now, and you're like, I would actually do that for my kids too,
Yeah. And
even if you
luckily,
could pay for it.
yeah. And for me, like I was able to go through college debt free. Like I graduated with zero debt. I didn't have to take on any student loans. I had grants, I
Lucky.
had scholarships. I took advantage of all that stuff. Um, and so
That's great.
there's ways to do it. So
Completely. Yeah, and I totally agree with you on this. And if I'm drilling you with questions, it's not for any reason, just the viewers can get a more uh, broad picture on it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and from my perspective, I completely agree that I think college is somewhat inflated right now. And when
Oh
Dave
yeah.
came out with these 7 steps, this might be the one that I am most like, hey, this is kind of outdated.
Yeah.
Because you don't know if your child's going to do a plethora of different paths. Um, because of the advent of the internet, which wasn't really around or was just a baby when these things are coming out. Um, which these are listed in Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. He goes over these 7 steps in great detail, so you can check out that book, Total Money Makeover. We'll have to give you an Audible link that'll give you that for free. That I think you could pick up one if you haven't had a free book given to you. We can give that to you. I'll see if I can do some research and get that to you. So check the description.
Yeah. But
Go
I
ahead,
want to
Jason.
into that about college tuition being inflated because I'm curious. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but probably average semester $20,000 to $50,000 a semester for 4 years.
Yeah,
Of
for
schooling.
stuff you could learn on the job or off the internet, possibly.
Yeah,
But for some
seriously.
reason, employers want you to have a stamp that you went there and did that thing when
Piece
you
of
could have.
paper.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think that is outdated as well. And I think that the internet is catching us up on that. That
Hmm.
eventually, I think that there's going to be too much of a difference between paying so much in college tuition and not getting any huge benefit from it.
Yeah,
Maybe there's going to be some sort of for high school you can take it's not the GDA. What is the
the GED.
GDE? GDE.
GED.
I wonder if college is going to have a similar thing. Like, no, I took this and then I took this test and that kind of tests you out of college, and then you can go and do whatever you're going to do. Start as an intern somewhere. See, just so you have, because a lot of job applications will have bachelor's degree required. In this area, right? But there's people coming out of high school with more knowledge than any of you or I had, because we just didn't have the tools available.
The technology. Yeah,
Yeah,
seriously.
we
And I'm
didn't.
curious because, like you said, that step seems outdated. I'm curious, what was tuition 20 years ago? Was it half of what it is today? And so my children will be college age in 18 years, another 20 years.
Will
Who's
we
to say
still
that
have the
that's not
dollar
going to?
around by then?
Yeah, exactly. Who's to say that like it's not going to double then? So
Yeah.
how do I save for college if I'm not able to save at the if I'm not able to keep up with the inflation of college tuition?
Touche.
So
Answer me that, Mr. Dave Ramsey.
anyway,
He
I
probably has a
think
good answer for that.
yeah, because obviously
I'd love to hear it though.
you won't be able to pay all of your kids' tuition. Maybe I don't know. Yeah, I'm a little. I don't like that step.
Yeah, yeah. The 401k step was like, and then this one's like, eh,
But,
you know?
and it's like, are you telling us, Dave, that we have to send our kids to college?
Ooh, yeah.
Like,
Like,
let my kids make that decision.
bingo. Yeah, I love that. Love that.
You
But
know,
maybe on Dave's side, you could say that um, he did, or maybe college when he was started to come out with this, which is why I think this is kind of like a thing of its time. When these 7 baby steps came out, going to college really did put you way above the competition, because college was like, people didn't go to college back then, right? All of a sudden these colleges are coming out, they're doing good, right? And it's really expensive, and there's all number of reasons why you're going to go straight from high school into a job, right? But now people like don't hire unless you have college, and so like that's really interesting. But yeah,
yeah,
again, with the internet, maybe college isn't as necessary. I mean, you can learn to code just as easy through Code Academy and get all of your certifications or whatever
right,
you need, and go
right.
right into a programming job, just like Jason and I did off the bat after we did college. And after I did a master's degree, which I could not get a grant for, 15 grand. And the year after, I ended up paying that off because I was so terrified of interest to be paid.
Mm.
Heaven forbid. So I was on the Dave Ramsey plan. You can refer back to episode 1 when we talk about kind of our debt stories. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, this step 5 is kind of a hard one. It's a head
and just
scratcher.
as a way of like gaining skills in life, like my family is an example. My dad never. I'm actually I'm the only one who has a bachelor's degree in my family,
There you go.
and my oldest brother, he learned coding on his own, and he works for Apple now. And that's like, a lot of people's dream job when
Sure.
they're starting college and learning how to code and stuff like that. So, but he never. He's self-taught. He learned the skills and was able to do that himself. My dad did a.
Probably saved a buttload of money too,
Oh
not paying for
yeah,
college.
yep. So my dad did a 40-year career with the United States Forest Service, and that he didn't need a college degree for that, and things were well for him. So
Yep, there are different ways. So maybe kind of an optional for step 5. If you're not going to save for children's, fund,
right,
maybe you you have some sort of retirement account instead of just a fund with just cash. Because again, the ESA is going to be, I believe, tax free going in, tax free coming out because it's
okay,
for education,
yeah, I don't
and
know
which is a
much about that.
benefit. If you're going to be using education, great, but you kind of don't know, and so maybe you have some sort of investment, maybe invest in an index fund or a mutual fund. I know Dave Ramsey loves mutual funds. Um, a low cost Vanguard, index fund, and then let them use that, once they're 18, 20, and when they're doing whatever they're going to do for their lives, maybe they can use that for, their first car that they need to start working or whatever. I don't know. But then there's on the other hand, like maybe it's like, well, no, just go out and get a job and you'll learn life experience that way, so I don't know. I know that um that I just have like little investments in things like cryptocurrency, in a business that I have, and I've put aside just a little bit for the kids in something that I'm just not going to touch, and maybe in 18 years, that will look very different than it does today. No telling if it will or won't, but to put a little something towards that, to be like, hey, this is something to just get you started.
Yep.
Maybe a little nod towards, I hope you succeed, and I hope you can turn this into something good. You know.
And I would say another alternative that you can do to use that money to save for education, if that's not what you want to do, maybe it's saving for experiences with your children. Like if you want to take,
Touche, yeah.
I know a family that the dad takes his family to Hawaii every single year and he pays for it all, but almost all of it. But he's like using his retirement account or like the money that his kids would inherit if he were to pass away. So he's like,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't want you
Turns that
to.
into experiences. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
he's like, I'm not going to just give you money when I'm gone. Like, I want to have memories and experiences with you while I'm here. So I'm going to use that money for that. So that's just another way of looking at it is you can invest in those future experiences with your adult children and grandkids.
Yep, I love that. Yeah, thanks for pulling that up. Anything
Yep.
else before we hit step 6?
Nope. Let's go on.
Let's go on. Jason, you want to read this one?
Let's do it. Baby step number 6, pay off your home early. Now, bring it all home. Baby step 6 is the big dog. Your mortgage is the only thing between you and complete freedom from debt. Can you imagine your life with no house payment? Any extra money you can put toward your mortgage could save you tens or even hundreds of thousands in interest.
Whoa.
Pay
Oh
off your
boy.
home early. Isn't Dave Ramsey a huge proponent of the 15-year fixed mortgage?
Yes, he is.
Yep. And I mean, that makes sense. You do want to pay off your home early. And here's the other thing. I mean, we can go into an episode about home ownership versus renting.
Yeah, this would be a good
Because
episode.
there's a lot of different philosophies and different ways of looking at it. If you want to live in a house, if you want to set roots in an area, like, yeah, this would make sense. But I know of families that they don't own a home and they just pay rent every single month and they're content with that. They're happy
Yeah.
with that.
And that can definitely work, if you have other investments or vehicles to take you where you need to go, in those years
Right.
of retirement, quote unquote, this dreamy picture painted of retirement, which for a lot
Yeah.
of people ends up being the front of Walmart.
Yep. And I would say, I mean, there's different ways of paying off your home early. I mean, we can go into different financial strategies about that. Of sounds like he's just saying add a couple $100 to your interest or to your principal every single monthly to your monthly payment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great way. If that's your plan, if that's what you want to do, if owning a home and setting roots, raising a family in one area, I mean, that's how I grew up. I was in the same house my entire life,
Yeah,
and
and that home's free and clear.
yeah, and I mean, it's great. So I think that's a good step. If home ownership is right for you, it may not be. Maybe
Yeah,
you just want to rent and not have to deal with the responsibilities of home ownership, because there's a lot more costs that go into a home than just your mortgage payment.
yeah, that is very true. I want to speak to this really quick. I really like this angle because um, the American dream of own a piece of land, own a home, and you know, I guess own a car and then work forever if that's the new American dream, because you own all these things that you're going to be paying off until you're dead. Um, but redefine what the American dream means for you,
Right.
uh, because just because you're renting, just because you don't own a home, doesn't mean you're any less than anybody else. You can be way better off, not owning a home if you do it right, if you know what you're doing. Um, than just owning a home and thinking that it's an asset when really it's just taking up 50-30% of your paycheck every month. So be aware of that. But Dave Ramsey is not wrong in that you will save tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. It is so surprising to go into a calculator of a 30-year uh, interest 30-year mortgage and do what just $1,000 extra payment would do towards the principal.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty insane. And just so you know, every 30-year mortgage, you end up paying twice the value of whatever it is, the loan for the home that you buy, and
Yep.
probably a little bit more. So it's buying the house once for you yourself and buying the house once for the bank. That's the difference. And there's a reason. If there's a loan anywhere, you know that there is no benefit to anybody to lend you money unless they're getting something out of it, and they usually do get something really solid. And I know this is over a 30-year period, but these guys are making bank off of mortgages. It is insane the amount of cash flow that comes in through these loans.
Yep. Yep. So true. Yeah, and we can go into a whole another episode
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
this.
We'll just keep going deeper and deeper. So the
Yeah.
rabbit hole right there. I love it. Let's hit the last step.
Okay. Go for it.
All right. And we promise you we will hit an episode on paying your house off early. I have a brother that just paid his house off. He just turned 40, and he wanted that really bad, and so he did it, and I'm super proud of him. He's completely done with debt, completely done with um, even a mortgage, so consumer debt plus mortgage, which means the amount of income that you have to have coming in is very low to be able to pay for some utilities and some food. That's crazy, and that really is freedom, in my definition of the word, not having these recurring expenses that you have to pay, or you put your family at risk of being on the street, because the bank will take that home just as easily away from you if you can't pay for it. Don't try it. They will do it. All right. Baby step 7. Build wealth and give. I do like this step. You know what people with no debt can do? Anything they want. The last step is the most fun. You can live and give like no one else. Keep building wealth and become insanely generous. Leave an inheritance for your kids and their kids. Now that's what we call leaving a legacy.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts,
I
Jason?
think so. My thing with this, it may be because I totally agree. Give, give, give. Build a legacy, build wealth.
Yeah, humans want to be able to give back in some way. It's very
Exactly.
fulfilling.
And I think it's I don't know, pet peeve, I guess. my beef with that step is, why isn't that step number one? And what I mean by that is, why do we have to wait to give when we're finally debt free?
Mm.
Because and what I mean by that is, obviously there are times when you are unable to give but you are willing. And that's, I think, if you are in that stage, I think that's a good place to be. But kind of going back to baby step number one about save an emergency fund to just $1,000, like, get in the habit of saving, but also get in the habit of giving. So if you're able to budget in your expenses or into your account of giving right away, like, you don't have to wait to step 7 to give. You can give right now. And that's the biggest thing. Like, and I can go on and on about this, but
And,
just
and are you meaning necessarily monetary, or are you meaning also non-monetary, like having the
both.
mindset of giving?
Both. Like, if you go to a church and you want to contribute to that church's fund in some way, shape, or form, like I said in the beginning with saving for your emergency fund, if all you can do is save 1%, get in the habit of giving at least 1%. Get in the habit of giving, because the more that you give, the more that you give, the more that will be returned to you. That's just the way this world universe works, is the more that we give, the more that we receive. And on top of that, the more that you give with no expectation of return, like, that's the highest level of giving in my mind, is being able to give without any expectation of return. Whether that's your money, whether that's your time, whether that's your attention, whether that's your, I don't know, hamburger. I don't, that was the first thing that came to my head.
Hamburguesa.
But yeah, it's giving. So I don't know why that's baby step number 7, is waiting until all the debt has been paid off before you start giving. And maybe he talks about this, I don't know, but that's just my initial reaction, is, why wait to give when if you can give already, do it.
No, and I really like that perspective. And yeah, he does go more into it of like, now that you have no debt and you have this solid cash flow, what are you going to do with the money? How are you going to give back? And yes, you will have a better position to be able to give more back, maybe do some sort of charitable program, or maybe something for your family, or more experiences, Hawaii every year, and yeah. So, but I do agree that having the mindset of giving throughout the entire process, even in business, I've done a lot of stuff in business where I've done things for free up until the point where they're like, wow, there's a lot of value here. This, as a business relationship, makes sense. And sometimes you don't get those business relationships unless there is value seen, because people don't love giving away money without seeing the value pretty instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something to think about. Don't don't run yourself into the poorhouse by giving and giving and giving. There's those people too. Watch out for that. If you
Mm-hmm.
give too much, then yes, you will stay in debt, and you will never get away from these debt monkeys, from these tigers, lions that are chasing you.
Yeah.
So be aware, but do
Mm-hmm.
have the mindset and build that mindset away from scarcity. And again, maybe the scarcity mindset is completely gone once you reach step number 7, because nobody's saying, hey, give me that mortgage payment. Nobody's saying, hey, give me that credit card payment.
Right.
Hey, I'm going to take this car away if you don't make this payment. This is the 3rd payment you missed. Like, there is great power that comes with achieving, step 7. um, but yeah, there's even some people that have gone more steps after this into like, whereas step 7 is you're completely free, everything's funded, your retirement's done. And step 7, 8, 9, and 10, they have like an 8, 9, 10. And maybe I
Mm-hmm.
can look those up and bring those up in another episode that we can go
Yeah.
over, because they are pretty cool. The different things you can achieve, and like, not just about giving back, but other things. And I'll have to look into that to be continued on that one. Yeah. What are the thoughts, Jason, here on closing up on the 7 baby steps? Maybe an overall impression or anything on the last step.
Yeah, if I were to give it like a 5-star rating or like a 10 out of 10, I would say like maybe 3.5 stars out of 5. There's just things that I agree with wholeheartedly,
Yeah, 3.5 is pretty good.
and there's things that I don't agree with, and that's fine. Like, we can all have disagreements. I would also add one thing into his baby steps that I think is just crucial, and that is, and maybe he goes into this in some way because we're just obviously going, water skiing
Yeah,
over,
yeah. This is the top. Yeah, obviously.
but being able to set aside money for you as an investment, not a money for you to have fun, but like how are you investing in yourself? Like, how are you upgrading your knowledge base? Are you buying books? Are you buying courses online to enhance your skill set? Are you doing that? Because maybe, like, for example, I'm in a position where I only have a bachelor's degree. Um, is it an investment? I can look at it as going to graduate school as an investment to be able to make some more money that way. If I could do it, I could look at it like that, or I can invest in like an online course, learning how to do this to be able to increase your income. Because that's one thing I don't like about his philosophy is he's like, cut out expenses,
Right,
cut,
right, right.
live off of rice and beans and rice. And for some people that doesn't vibe with, like
Sure.
you, like you can have there's that philosophy of like short-term imbalance for long-term balance. But I mean, life is life. And for some people, like life is meant to be enjoyed and fulfilled, and living under the mindset of I got to live underneath a rock for the next 5 years in order to, like, just doesn't work out. Maybe you can have it both ways, and I think there is ways that you can have it both ways. But anyway, adding another step, a little asterisk of investing in yourself, like setting aside 3% of your income or like $100 a month to be able to go out and
Mm-hmm.
maybe start a side hustle, or maybe join a network
I
marketing
yeah,
company.
I wish he would talk about that. And I think in step 7 he might mention something like that in the building
Yeah.
wealth area. In fact, I remember now he does. But yes, definitely yourself. You are a very important asset, and you should be sharpening, that tool throughout this whole process, even from
Yeah.
step 1.
Yeah. Yeah. But other than that, I think that's my only commentary on those baby steps.
Nice, I love it. Um, do you think that these 7 baby steps works in general?
Yeah, in general, I think they work, and I think they work for a lot of people. And he obviously has a lot of results that he has provided for a lot of families, couples, individuals out there. Um,
Yeah.
is it the gospel standard truth that this is the only way to pay off debt? No, there's other ways.
It shouldn't be, although it kind of is currently. If you're,
He's probably the most
maybe
popular one.
age 30 and above, this
Yeah.
is kind of like the bread and butter for how do I get out of debt.
Hmm.
Um, which is good, but just like you get what you measure. Like if you're digging, dirt, and the boss says, "Hey, you get paid $1,000 for every 10 feet of dirt that you dig through." You're going to get a lot of holes. You're going to get a lot of dirt that's been dug, right? But what are you measuring? Like, is that what's most important to you? That's kind of how these 7 baby steps are. Is that it? Like, do you want out of debt? Yes. Well, it's going to do that, but you're going to miss many opportunities if you just focus on digging those 10 feet of dirt. Um, so be aware of that. Be aware of you. Be aware of the experiences you're wanting to have, because you can have more than maybe Dave Ramsey lets on. Um, um, but yeah, without curving too many of those baby steps into different things, because I do think they are solid things. Uh, but I'm just saying that if you focus on one thing, that's what you'll get. And so um, just be aware of what, and in tune with what you are wanting and what you are wanting to, you know, bring forward. You might want to start a business in a different order than Dave,
Yep.
and that's okay, but see how you can work into this system, or maybe the system doesn't work for you and you need to do something else, but maybe a few steps work for you and the other steps don't work because you're just not going to do the W2 thing. You're not going to do whatever. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that. And that's kind of been my story, that I've been a little bit, um, you know, on the self-employed route. I already have a couple of businesses that are bringing in income. I'm working on another stream, and yeah, there are many ways to get this done.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally agree. All right, man.
Should
I
we wrap
think
this up?
we can wrap this up, and we're going to have to take notes on all the other episodes that we thought of while we were.
Yeah, we gave ourselves a lot of work just now, didn't we?
That's good. That's good. Anyway, let's wrap
Wonderful.
it up.
Yep, let's wrap this up. Thanks for being on board for this episode number 5, the part 2 of Dave Ramsey's 7 Baby Steps. Please, in the comments, let us know your thoughts on these 7 baby steps, if they apply to you, or maybe what baby step you're currently on if you're doing the baby steps. Share this with someone that might bring some value from it. And comment maybe down below on other videos you would like to see us do in the future. And we might prioritize those episodes towards the top.
Yep.
Yeah. Smash that like button and give us a sub if you like what you're hearing. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Peace.
Adios.